5 days live, and this is Stephen, and this is day 4. Now, we've had 3 fantastic shows. On Monday, we talked about camera confidence, on Tuesday about planning, and yesterday we talked about repurposing. Now, today is probably the most important topic to cover of all, because unless somebody sees your show, you're not going to get a response. So what we're talking about today is totally about show promotion. Now, in terms of promoting shows, the people I'm about to introduce you to have actually walked the walk. They know how to promote a show, and they're going to tell you how they do it. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you in alphabetical order. I'm just trying, yes, okay. And say good afternoon, Bridgetti.
Good afternoon, Stephen, and hello, everyone.
And say to everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to the 5 Days Live show. And our second person to join us today, I'm going alphabetically, is David Burrows. And while David joins us, Bridgetti is our southernmost co-host in Cape Town in South Africa. And then we go north. And we go to the far north. Well, not the north, because you can actually see the USA from where he is. And say hello to David Burrows from Sarnia in Canada. Hello, David.
Hello.
Hi, David.
Hello, Bridgetti, Stephen, everyone.
And we wouldn't be complete unless we had with us RJ Redden, who's my favorite messenger bot builder ever. And today, Bridgetti, David, and RJ are going to talk about show promotion, and I'm going to disappear whilst they do that. If you've got any questions during the show, please ask them. And well, let's have a good show. And welcome. And it's over to Bridgetti, and the first.
Hey, RJ, how are you? Well,
I'm so good. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. I
RJ,
absolutely
nice to see you.
cannot complain. So we're talking about how we promote our shows. So it's really, for me, it's what you do before broadcast, it's what you do during a broadcast, and what you do after a broadcast. So I'm going to open with my blooper for today. Make sure you look good before you push the go start button, because you know what happened to me? I had something to eat earlier, and unbeknownst to me, I had messed on my shirt. And, you know, I was all dressed, ready to go. And as I was ready to go live, I looked down at my shirt and I thought, oh no, time for a wardrobe change. So
I do it all the time, so I just don't. It looks normal.
Yeah, exactly. And here's my secret: wear dark colors. It was actually in my wedding vows to my wife that there will always probably be food on my shirt somewhere. So wear dark colors and create that expectation. Yeah, I know what you mean. I do it all the time.
So here's my first tip. When you start your broadcast, sell yourself, but don't be salesy. In other words, when you are going live, or when you're planning to go live, you want to tell your audience that you're going to be streaming, but you don't want to go out repeatedly and say, hey, I'm going to be going live. Hey, I'm going to be going live. Everyone's going to go, so what? Everyone else does that. What you can do instead is share a highlight of what you're going to be sharing. Share a nugget. If you're going to be covering an event, I mean, David, I think you do more events than I do. Take people behind the scenes and say, well, this is where we're going to be streaming from. This is our setup. You know, it builds up that curiosity. Yeah. And that's very different to saying, hey, I'm going live. So have something that's going to be a hook, that's going to make your audience look forward to coming. Do you guys agree?
I definitely do. You know, there's a reason why we have movie trailers, right? Movie trailers. And they put out one, and then they put out another one leading up to, right? The teaser. The teaser is the lead up to get you to go to the movie. Wrestling is a really good example of leading up to an event, you know, and they do it. And I guess we'll probably talk a lot about these different, you know, before, during, and after promotion. You know, when the wrestler that fights loses, he's already talking about the next event, right? It's already talking about, all right, RJ, I lost to you, but I'll see you at WrestleMania on April, the blah, blah, right? And then it's just event to event to event. So I think even the show promotion is important. Like if you do a weekly show like I do, it's tune in next week, we'll have this guest on. Or when I'm on earlier with Steven, I say, I'll be on again later today. So there's all kinds of different ways to tease your audience, I guess is the best way to put it. RJ?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I've heard even something better than that really stuck in my head. It's treat your shows like a soap opera. You know, give it a little mini cliffhanger at the end, and keep a little bit of interest in there. To me, I go live relatively often, and being able to just kind of ride the wave of that and say, hey, and I'm going to be live with Steven tomorrow, and I'm going to be on, you know, the show on Thursday, leading people to it and giving them a little nugget, you know, never just I'm going live, but here's a reason you should be there. Yeah.
One of the things I found that's been working for me that is sort of the movie teaser, going live before you go live. So I've been going live on my personal timeline, just randomly, for different things. You know, I have a karaoke cruise I'm doing this weekend. I would go live and then I just throw it out there, right? You know, oh, by the way, don't forget tickets, you know, or.
We apologize for this break in your broadcast, Mr.
Did we lose
Burrows.
David there for a minute?
We might have lost a David. Maybe he was going live on his personal timeline right then. That's what happened.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Right. Okay. David disappeared then, didn't he? So we'll carry on, and we'll come back to David's story in a moment. And Gospel is saying good tips, and I like your background, Bridgetti. That's good. And
Bridgetti's very lit very well today, I must say.
Totally. Perfectly lit. Yeah. And somebody else who's perfectly lit too. And the red seems to be the colour of the day. So bring back Mr. David Burrows, who was partway through.
Hello.
Well, his idea.
So don't sit with your hand on your mouse.
Oh dear.
Mouse check, everybody.
Right. So you were talking about, you were in the throes of going live on your personal timeline.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
And we thought you just left to go and do that quickly.
Yeah, I had a better deal. I don't know. No, so what I was saying was I'm just going randomly live on my personal Facebook timeline, right? And I just go, hey, everybody, what's going on? How's it going? Very casual. You know, I'm not in my tie or anything. It's just me being me. And when I see people, and I do it natively, and I see people pop up, I go, oh, hey, RJ, how's it going? What are you up to tonight? Or, hey, Bridgetti. And I acknowledge every person as they come and show up. And then I just talk about, oh, I did this past weekend. I was at here. And, oh, yeah, Jennifer and I just very casual. And then once in a while, I'll say, and by the way, I got some really cool guests coming up on my show on Monday at 3:30 Eastern time. And I tell them my show page, my Facebook page, or I'll type it in the comments and say, if you guys want to see what happened earlier this week at Blue Water Border Fest or wherever I was, then I just talk to them and I see their comments and I reply to their comments. So it's not really a show. It's not salesy. I'm just kind of dripping, you know, if that makes sense. And it gets a lot of reaction. So
I saw Catherine's comment down below. She says, and include the name of the show as well as the topic. I've seen many that you can't tell what it is and who it is or why it is. And that's one of the points that I would like to highlight when we talk about during the broadcast. But I've got two more things that I wanted to share about what you can do before your broadcast. And so the other point, so Catherine, I will get back to your comment. So the other thing I wanted to share about what you can do before your broadcast is to plan for a better viewing experience for your audience. You know, check your lighting, check your microphone, check your surroundings, your setting, make sure that you're not going to be disturbed. I think we all remember the experience of that professor who was on and his kids and wife surprised him unexpectedly and how that affected him. So be prepared for surprises and know how you're going to deal with them. You know, don't think I'm infallible. It's not going to happen to me. The dogs are going to bark. The, you know, police van might go by or something will happen. So decide beforehand how you will deal with those interruptions. What do you guys do? I mean, I personally, if I don't have little kids anymore, so that's not an issue for me.
No, I'm just kidding.
But, you know, my dogs will bark occasionally, and I'll just say, well, my dogs have decided to join the show. Welcome to the show, my dogs, or something like that. Yeah. How do you guys deal with interruptions or plan not to be interrupted?
I think the biggest one for me, the one that would make me change my course of action is if all of a sudden my sound is off or there's an interruption in the stream. That's stuff that I actually react to. Most other stuff, though, I am an old theater person. The show must go on. Yes, I will acknowledge that my dog is shaking his tags in the background. He's always sitting right here. So sometimes he makes noise. I will say, I will just tell a little joke about whatever's going on and keep going with that show because people tuned in for a reason. They realize it's live. And you know, have an entire show stop just because my dog is shaking his tags. Absolutely not. The show must go on, and that's something that's been drilled into me from an early age, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I always think back to when I took piano lessons. Yes, I took piano lessons, and my teacher said, you know, when you make a mistake, what do? You don't stop and start over. You just keep going. If you stop, that's when people will notice. If you just carry on, well, maybe someone with a tuned ear will go, "Ooh, we missed that note," but they won't say anything, right? I've had it where, so my wife Jennifer hates being on camera, and I try to put her on camera once in a while, or if I always mention her name or something. She's like, "Why do you always do that?" So she'll walk into my studio once in a while when I'm doing one of those randoms, and she doesn't know I'm live. She knows the rest of the time when I'm live, and she doesn't dare come near me. But she has done that casual walk in to say goodnight or something. And I just carry on, and I go, "Hi." You just carry on. You know, she embarrassingly runs away quickly, but and I don't have any pets, so I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, it's just carry on. I mean, you're live, right? And I think there's, you know, we talked earlier in the week about camera confidence. I think people, you know, that live thing, that word live, I think is what sort of scares people. And really, we shouldn't be afraid of it. I welcome things to go wrong, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously we want to do a nice, polished, professional performance here, but things go wrong as they do when you click your mouse button and you all of a sudden disappear when you're on a show. So you just carry on.
And the key there is to expect things to go wrong.
Yeah.
So that when they do, you don't get thrown off kilter. You know, you don't
Murphy's right
panic.
Here.
You know, you kind of just, as you said, RJ, the show must go on. I mean, I've had several experiences. For example, my internet is very buggy and I'm waiting for fiber. But until then, I understand and I know in advance my internet connection may go down. So I warn all my guests, and I usually don't go live by myself for that reason. I always have a co-host, and I explain to my co-host, my internet is buggy until I can get the fiber sorted. If I disappear, just know my internet's gone down and please carry on with the show. So that they prepared, they don't get caught unawares, and they'll just know, well, she'll be back.
Perfect.
So, prepare for those eventualities. And the third thing that I wanted to highlight about being prepared is timing of your show. I mean, we know replays can happen at people's convenience, right? But if you're doing a show where you want a huge live audience, where you've gone the 9 yards of doing all the preparations, and you want a live audience in your location, say you want one in Canada or where you are, RJ, or I want an audience in South Africa that's live. There's no point in me scheduling that when it's going to be the middle of the night where I live, where I want my live audience. Or if I want an audience in Canada, I need to check that people in Canada are going to be awake at that time.
Yeah.
Or you want to check that there's not a big World Cup going and you're going live at the same time as the World Cup. That ain't going to help you.
The World Cup, what's that? Oh, Steven's in the background going, what? You bring up a really good point there, Bridgetti, and I just want to share that I remember a time in my life where I went through that struggle when I was trying to decide what time of the day to do my live show. Because originally I had done a recorded show, right? And just did other things live. So when I was making that leap, do I do 12 first? And I, by the way, you can change your time anytime you want. You are not run by a corporation. You can do whatever you want. But you do have to make some decisions and then keep it consistent, right? And that was something I put out a vote poll, Well, of course, everybody who lives in my area said 6 or 7 o'clock at night, Eastern. Okay, that's great. You're already watching. So honestly, I was like, if the people in my community can't watch live, that's okay, because they can watch the replay. But I wanted to be able to do it at a time where somebody like Steven in the UK could join, or Australia is a tough one, So 3:30 there's a reason I came up with 3:30. So timing is definitely everything.
Consistency too. I mean, I'll just echo something that you guys have been saying, is that when I'm promoting my show, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1 o'clock Central. I mean, it's always, and I can change it if I want to change it, but consistency is so vital, because then everybody just knows what time I'm going to be on. Yeah. I'm not constantly going, we're switching to, today we're going to go on at, 7 a.m. or something like that. I mean, I like to make it really consistent. And I think that that gets more viewers that way.
Yeah. And the consistency with, just to add to that, you can go live anytime you want. I think we forget that sometimes. You can go live anytime you want. So yes, have your consistent show, but if there's something else that comes along that you want to add to it, or there's a special event in you that's, if the Oscars are on and you want to go live and talk about the Oscars or whatever that looks like, you can go live anytime, 24 hours a day. And I think sometimes we forget about that. Keep your consistent show, but go ahead and go live anytime you want. And that, those randoms, I like to call them, even if you're doing that on your page instead of your personal timeline, it shows you're active. And if people are enjoying your relationship that you've created with them and they see you go live, they're going to, oh, what's he up to? Or what's Bridgetti doing, right? So don't forget you can go live anytime. And that helps promote your regular show as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say hello to Irene there. She's off to sleep.
Night, night, Irene. Thank you for all your hard work.
Absolutely. So I want to get back to what, I think it was it Catherine? I forgot her name now. Point she was raising about during your show. Oh, yes, it is Catherine. Yes. Talking about your topic. I have noticed that there are a few people like Luria Petrucci, Mari Smith, Mitch Jackson, Owen Video. They very seamlessly during their broadcast reminds people what they're talking to. They don't interrupt. They don't kind of stop the bus, but somehow they weave that constantly into their broadcast. We forget that people can, as you rightly said earlier, David, we can go live anytime we want. And in the same manner, people can jump onto the show anytime they want. And sometimes people come and go. But if you want to hook them, people may join and think, well, what are you talking about? So somehow during your show, as a way of promotion, let people know what you are talking about and who your guest is.
Yeah.
Because we take it for granted, you know, it's just keep people informed.
Yeah. And it's important because it's a good point. Even though, you know, you put in, at least I know I put in the comments before I go live, you know, these are my 3 guests and what we're going to be talking about. You'd be amazed how many people don't read the comments.
They don't read. Nobody reads text anymore. Yeah.
So they just see that you're live, and if there's a relationship there, they're going, "Oh, what's he talking about?" Or what's going on, and they click live and they want to. So yeah, I mean, there's Larry King was a fantastic you know, interviewer, and he was good at saying things like, so welcome if you're just joining us live now. If you're just coming online now, you could say, we're speaking with so and so, and we're talking about, you know, fiber internet or whatever. You just kind of casually drop it and then carry on. Or I know what I do sometimes is I just remind people why we're here, and I remind them about, you know, putting comments or asking questions below. So our guest here, there's just a way to say it, but then keep things moving.
Absolutely. And then be responsive, you know, don't ignore people. If you're doing a webinar style live, for example, where you've got content that you've pre-planned, let people know that after your presentation, you'll be taking 10 or 15 minutes to answer questions. But unless you've categorically stated that, be attentive to your audience and address them, make them feel like they're part of the show. And it's one of the things I love about BLive is that it makes it so easy for us to do that. Because we can see who's popping up, and we can see the comments that they're making. And if the comments are relevant to the show, pop them on screen. People are so delighted. I mean, you know, if you're on Joel Com's show, for example, or Mari's show, or someone that's a prominent live streamer, how does it make you feel when they acknowledge your presence? And they put your comment on screen. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel acknowledged.
Absolutely.
And so we may take for granted because, you know, we're live streaming all the time, and we forget the value that people place on feeling recognized, giving them a shout out. You know, so if you want your audience to keep coming back, acknowledge them. That's part of the process of promoting your show and yourself.
It makes your guests feel good too, quite honestly. When they see somebody, your friend, one of their friend or somebody else that especially when it's somebody they don't know, make a nice comment. They go, "Oh," it makes them feel really good about it. And sort of, I guess, getting back to that show promotion thing, I guess pre-show, it's important to have the guest promote as well, right? You know, if they're going to be on, you know, you're going to share a link with them and stuff, and, you know, have them please share this link to I do it with my guests, you know, here's a link to where the show is going to be. Please share on all your social medias. I think that it's important that the guests play a role in promoting when you're going to be live as well. RJ, I think you got thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and some guests will, and some guests won't.
Yeah.
I have noticed, and I don't have very many guests on my show. I mostly am a solo girl at this point. But I have noticed that some will and some won't. But, well, we talked about this the other day. Erin Strayer has this bullet pointed PDF that she gives everybody. Here's how to do everything. Here's how, here's when. And it just, we all assume that everybody knows what to say and when to share. And just give people a little bit of direction, make it super dead easy for people to promote before, during, and after. And you'll get a lot more interviewees sharing your show. I know that when I'm given a direction, it's like, okay, I can do this. I don't have to remember at the last minute and then write something pithy and share it out. You know, I've got directions. So, so that may be helpful as well. One point that I want to give, because Stephen is reminding me through putting up this little banner here, I'm getting otherworldly hints from Stephen. One of the things that, and this is the very first thing that I wrote down on my, we all gave a little bullet pointed list for today. This is the first thing that I wrote down. And this is not intuitive for promoting your show. It's really, it's kind of counterintuitive almost. But what has happened to me is that I often am promoting my show by going and listening to David when he's on, and going and listening to Bridgetti's show, and listening to Stephen's show, and a host of other people. When they're on, I've got at least 3 screens here. I can put you on a screen and comment back, be a supportive audience member, because people will say hello, and people will mention my show randomly. Sometimes they do it even when I am not there. But going and supporting your community members, supporting people, like-minded people who are doing the kind of same thing that you are, or you've been on their show or whatever, that has been a gold mine for me. Because people will say, hey, RJ's on, she's talking about bots Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever. And they'll send people to my show all the time without any, and all of it just comes from supporting your community members. Do you guys have that same experience?
I know.
Absolutely.
I do, for sure. Yeah. Go ahead, Bridgetti.
Yeah, I do. I get so much out of participating in others' broadcasts, and especially if you would like to connect with someone, go be a guest on their broadcast, participate. I think Erin stated that the other day. She very categorically said, and I agree with her 100%. If you're wanting to be a guest on someone's show, then go watch their stuff, participate in their stuff. Don't just say to someone, hey, I'd like to have you on as a guest. Why? Do I know you?
Yeah.
So put in that effort, put in the time to really get to know people before you ask them something. Support.
Support, love one another. Right, really is the show. Share the love, right? RJ, hi, I love you. It's reciprocity too, right? It's if you're walking down the street and you say hello to somebody, they're going to probably say hello back to you. If you're walking down the street and you say top of the morning to you, they'll probably say top of the morning right back to you. So it's a power of suggestion too, to support each other, if you will, in kind of a weird way. But I do it if I know I just did it with RJ and Jessica Payne the other day. It popped up, they were live, and I was like, oh, I checked, even it's just for a minute, because I can't typically watch a whole show. Right. But I'll give you 5 minutes, maybe 10, depending on my schedule. I'll say hello. And if I do have to leave, I often say, gotta run. Hope you have a great day. I'll catch the replay later. And I share it to my personal timeline. Check out my friends, RJ and Jessica. They're talking about this. And it's, I guess it's a goes around, comes around kind of thing. It's the same thing with just even comments and picture posts. If I see people who are liking and sharing my stuff, I'm more likely to go and see what they're doing, and I will like and share their stuff back too. So I think the share button is one of the most not used buttons on Facebook. I think we like and comment, and then maybe we share. I don't know. It just seems to be a hard one to get people to click. But it's really important to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think. Go ahead, RJ.
Nope. You go. I'll go in a sec.
Okay, so I think it was Owen Video who's got this thing going on his show, where he chooses the person who shared the most, and then he promotes that person. So it's a great way of promotion, getting your yes, without being briberish.
No, it's bribery.
Selling without being salesy.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a subtle way. It's a subtle way of doing that, and that ties in very nicely with the next thought that I have that I wanted to share about promotion during your show. Is be a likable person online. Be nice, be smile, be warm. Don't be obnoxious. There's nothing wrong with selling or mentioning your products or services during your show, but don't go. Well, this is the iPhone and I sell them. Don't make that the key focus, because that's the quickest way to get people to switch off.
Yeah.
So you can mention your products and your services and highlight what you do as part of your call to action. But if you're going to be live and all you do is trying to convince people to buy your book constantly without giving them more information, that is the biggest turnoff ever. I mean, RJ, you do it so well with the bots, because what you're doing all the time is you're showing people the value that they can get out of using a bot, and how it's going to better their show, how it's going to increase engagement. So it's value, 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 value all the time. I see you do that perfectly. And that's what we want to be doing. We do not want to come across as if we're trying to sell. I mean, I've never really seen you come across as a salesy person. I don't see that in your shows.
And it's because you're exactly right. It is a huge turnoff to me. And I typically won't be in the audience for shows like that, because it's, to me, it's the old way of doing things, the hit you over the head type stuff. And it makes me cringe on the inside. And I just don't ever want to be that type of person. And I think that brings me to kind of another point. And this is another kumbaya moment, David. So ready yourself. But this has worked for me tremendously. Be the type of audience member that you want to have, that you want to see. And what I mean by that is, and especially if you're new, if you are brand new at live streaming, or if you're thinking about getting a live stream show going, pay attention to the following. If you get on people's shows, and in the Be Live group, there's that huge thread of shows that goes on every day. On the Live Video Hub, there's a huge amount of shows of people who are in varying levels of broadcasting. Pick a few, go visit their shows, and in their audiences, if they say a link out loud and say, "Oh, I'll drop it later in the comments," go find the link and drop it for them. If they seem to be struggling because they're kind of wanting questions, but they're sort of hurting for audience interaction, comment it up. Say some things, ask a question, help a person out. And, to me, that's not going to directly come back to you in monetary form. But what it is going to create is maybe open a relationship with somebody who's a fellow broadcaster. That's a definite great way to get to know people, to be invited onto somebody's show, maybe for a casual talk, maybe for a whole presentation. You just never know. But that kind of support and love comes back to you. It has come back to me about 1,000-fold. I will seriously be listening to somebody, not even be really in the comments, and I'll hear them say my name, and I'm like, "What? I can't pay for this kind of advertising, you guys."
Yeah.
But being the audience member that you want to see, going and supporting people's shows, people will come to your show and support. There are people that watch my show that are absolutely not interested in bots. I have to tell you this. They have no truck with, never going to buy, never going to do anything with bots. But they like to be on the show because, as Bridgetti was saying, it's a nice place to be. It makes people feel good. And so I did want to put that piece of advice out there, because no matter who you are, no matter what kind of following you have, you can find some other people to follow and give a little bit to, and see where that relationship leads. So yeah, you beginning broadcasters out there know that it's a key element. So,
yeah. You know, I think the other thing that we've not really mentioned is it takes work to promote your show. Just so you know, like there's effort involved, right? I think that's we're talking about a lot of things here, and there's so much. We could probably do a week just on this topic of show promotion. And it depends what level you want to take what you're doing to, right? You know, if you want to be full time at this, it's full time work. If you're just doing this part time, then it's part time work. But there's a lot of effort goes into all of this, right? And I think it's important for people to understand that there's a process to creating your show, and what your show may look like in the beginning definitely won't look the same 6 months later, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. I just want to say hello to everyone who's joined us today. There's Alfredo, Barbara, Catherine, Irene. April has joined us. I don't know if she's still at the office, but she said she popped in to say hello. Alfredo, Gospel has joined us. Let's see, Clara, Barbara, Carlos, Phoenix has joined us. So welcome everyone, and thank you to all of you who are watching us live, and thank you to everyone who's sharing the broadcast, because that's what it's all about. It's sharing the love. Barbara says, sorry, a comment got cut up. And what do you do after a broadcast? So we've basically covered what, tips of what you do before broadcast, what you do during a broadcast, and then there's what you do after a broadcast. And to me, every single element of what we do with the broadcast is important. Not a single one is less important than the other, because you can do great pre-promotion, you can do great promotion during, but that's not where the work ends. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of post-production work. And it's one of the reasons I often say to people that when you live stream, it's very different to somebody that just casually goes and hit the button, go live. It's not the same thing. When you're producing a show, there's a lot of work involved. There's hours of pre-production, and there's even more hours of post-production work. So what is it that you guys do for post-production?
Well, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, about using services that will repurpose the broadcast to several different platforms. If you're interested in that, deep details on it yesterday. So go back to the show with me and Ani Mora, who's an expert, and Stephen. So there's that. I do have my show taken to other platforms and put in other mediums, and that is great. But there are still some things to do. So here's a mindset that I find among live streamers that is really interesting, and that is when we do a show, we do have the load of things that we do before a show. We've got some stuff during the show, but then after the show, we tend to go, okay, got to start working on the next show. If we had taken all of that time to make a professional looking video, we wouldn't let it sit on the shelf. We would be constantly, hey, I've got this video, this thing I did, and go watch it. But we tend to not think about live streaming that way, because it's live, it's gone now. It's really it's a change in mindset, I think, to look at it as, here is a permanent piece of content that I can continue to point people to. Hey, did you just ask me a question that could be really well answered in a recent live stream that I've just done? Awesome. I am going to drop you that link. Because I want you to get the full picture, and I do that a lot. I do a lot of re-promotion after the fact, because it awakens those shows, and it puts that stuff in top of people's mind, and it keeps my content working for me long after it's done. And I think that has been a really great thing for show promotion as well. If I'm working on putting this in my bot as well. So the way that I'm doing it is if somebody types in a topic, then I can give them a selection possibly of stuff to view or shows to watch or PDFs or stuff like that. So yeah, don't forget about the many ways that you can say, hey, I just talked about that last week. I had a really great guest on, or, this topic came up and, this, for further information, go right here. I think you'll enjoy this show. So that's one of the ways that I do it. David, would you like to take a crack at this question?
I'm cracking it right now. This is something that I think a lot of us do miss, as Bridgetti sort of started to point out, and RJ, you kind of mentioned that too, that, we get ready for the next show. And honestly, this is something that I was weak at doing until very recently, actually. So what I've started to do, and this is all just like, see, this is all a process. Like Bridgetti mentioned earlier, was like, one doesn't work alone. All these things work together to create the result. If you work in a store somewhere, you have a routine. When you go into the store, you unlock the door, you turn off the alarm system, you turn on the lights, you have a process routine. And then at the end of the day, when you're done, you have to do the bank deposit. This is all a process. Think of it that way, right? And one of the things I've been doing that I think is sort of forgotten is time stamping. And this does take some work, but I will tell you the results, at least what I've been getting, are phenomenal. At least phenomenal. They definitely improve viewership and response, and it definitely helps promote your next show. So you can go into your Facebook comments after, and you can, and what I do is I take a pen, yes, pens and paper, and I scroll to where I spoke about something and I write the time down. And then I scroll to where my first guest was on and I write that time down. And when you go into the comments section, you can type in RJ Redden talks about bots, and then type in the time, 03:52. So at 3 minutes and 52 seconds. And then they can click right on that and it will take them right to that spot in the video. And by tagging that person that you interviewed, like I always tag my guests in the original comments, you get an opportunity to tag them again by saying, thank you to my guests for joining. Watch RJ at this time, watch Bridgetti at this time. And it creates clickable links, and then it re-tags your guests again. So they get to respond by saying, thank you for having me on your show, David, and so on and so forth. So the timestamps is working really well, and I haven't seen it a lot. So I would encourage people after to take that time to put in the timestamps. And that kind of helps lead up to the next show as well, right? I try to plan my guests like 2 weeks in advance. It doesn't always work that way. So it can be, I have 3 guests every week on a show, so it can be difficult to time it. But if you can, again, lead to that next event. But time stamping has been a huge improvement to my shows. And I just want to echo RJ. I use repurpose.io, and I'm so thankful for Stephen Healy for pointing it out to me and sharing it with me, because I've saved myself so much time.
Yeah. And it isn't even always, I mean, it saves a lot of time, but it opened my eyes up to the many places that I hadn't thought of that my show could go. So yeah, it's been a boon for me as well. So I love the timestamp tip too. Clara loves it too. And
thanks,
yeah, that's some great stuff.
It takes a bit of work, but it works fantastic. Sorry, Bridgetti, go ahead.
So yes, I mean, it is worth putting in the time. So one thing I do is I've had a number of guests that are very technical people, especially when it comes to my live streams about the water crisis. So it's scientists, water strategists, and they speak on a very high level. And it is stuff that people need time to absorb. And often they share a lot of nuggets that may go over people's heads the first time when they hear it because there's too much information. So if I take up that video, and I think Robert Stern said he actually finds that he can break up his videos and repurpose that content for a year, sometimes for more than 1 year, because that content, like with my interviews with the water strategists, their content doesn't date. It's scientific, it's factual. It's never going to go out of circulation. So I can take those videos and I can cut them up into thousands of little pieces where they share just one nugget that people need to know. So I can repurpose that content infinitely to highlight my guest and highlight the content, the value that they share. And people just keep coming back and they want that guest on and on again and again, because me helping them to pick up these little nuggets by the short little snippets creates an expectation for them to want to see it again and again and again, because they now, this person's established credibility because the show is so packed with value that they want more and more of it. So there's, you can literally, your content can go on and on. You can recycle content, unless it's a technical show where things, technology changes. But even that has value, because you can still come back and say, we've gone from A to B, and these have been the differences in between. Like, wow, we did this a year ago. Look where we are now. So never discard your content.
Never. Unless it's just an outright will confuse people. Never discard your content. Don't delete it, people. Stephen is giving us a hint. Messaging viewers who commented on your last show. And boy, this has been a powerful thing. This has been a powerful thing for me, both just on the comment thread of the show. Because what it does is Facebook really likes comments. They really like comments. So I embrace what they like because it's just easier that way. But messaging the people, who had a question, even if somebody asked me a question during a show and I answer it on the show, I will go back to that question in the comments and answer it again in short form for people. That is really nice. That you can do. You don't need any extra equipment to do that. You just need to remember after the show, probably about an hour or so later, go back to the show and comment and thank people for coming and participating. The other way that I know I do this, and Stephen does this too, is we both have messenger bots running. So I can go back inside the messenger bot and just leave people a little voice message that says, hey, thanks for coming today. Or, hey, I noticed that you've come to the last 5 shows in a row, and I just wanted to say thanks for being a big fan. And if there's a question I can answer for you, please let me know. Starting a conversation off of the show that you just had with people is amazing and will lead you to places that you didn't think possible off of a single show. The interaction that you can get inside Messenger, which is of course my topic of choice. Don't get me started because I will talk all day. But yeah, that is super helpful. That can be super helpful as well. Going back and not just acknowledging, Bridgetti was talking about acknowledge people during that show. Do this, acknowledge your fans, acknowledge people who are investing their time in you, but also do it after the show, and you will reap the rewards of that. Do you guys do that as well?
What message the guests?
Yeah. Either on the thread or
I haven't done the message the guest thing. I did it. It's one of those things I did a couple of times, and then I haven't worked hard at creating that habit. That's something that I know Stephen shared with me some time ago. So it's something. And here's the other thing, folks. Take notes when watching shows, or even if you're listening to your guests, take notes, because I'll remember that now. But I do often go back to the comments that were there and thank you for watching. Thank you for your comment, whatever that's related to. It doesn't have to be a lot. A simple, you will never upset anybody by doing this to them. Giving them a pat. You won't break their shoulder by patting them on the back and saying thank you, right? So
and it's sometimes just a simple hello. It doesn't have to be a long conversation.
Yeah, no, it's just
saying
it's
hello
just
is an
acknowledgement.
Right?
Yeah, totally acknowledgement.
Absolutely.
You feel who doesn't want to feel appreciated?
Oh yes,
that's it. You know, I mean, we
Appreciate
all
your
kind of
audience.
talk. We all talk about, you know, how tough it is, especially in the beginning when you feel like you are broadcasting and nobody is listening. So be that person who listens. Be that person who comes back and acknowledges and gives a little bit of love. If you can be that person, people will remember you. And that's the experience I've had.
Be the person. I just want to jump back real quick and throw this one out there before I forget about it. But does anybody, do either one of you ladies or maybe Stephen, does anybody create an event for your show? Do you ever like go on and create the event that the talk show is coming up at 3:30 on this week, on this day, and please join me?
I like to create events because, you know, when you create a broadcast on Facebook, you don't really get a nice picture to go with your broadcast. They really just do like a little circle that you see.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And you want to try and be strategic about what it is that they're going to see, so you don't cut off your guest's head or something. So you want to make sure that looks right, because you want to promote your guest, right?
Yeah.
But if you go and create an event, you get to show your entire show card. It makes it look nice. You can make it look attractive, so that people can see what you know. You want to highlight you can highlight your guests very nicely, or highlight your topic. You can go and invite specific people. Now, there's a caution I want to put to that, though. You do not want to get into the habit of going to tag every single Dick, Tom, and Harry regularly. People will get irritated with that. So you can use that strategically, because if you know your audience, then, and if you know that the topic is going to be of interest to them, then go right ahead and tag them. Because I do sometimes get people who say, hey, I missed your show. Why didn't you let me know? So if you know that David wants to watch X, when you're going to plan X, make sure you tag David so that he knows you're going to go live.
Yeah.
That's absolutely appropriate, and that's promoting correctly. But you don't want to promote and spam. That's the last thing you want to do. You're going to put people off. Get
permission. You know, if especially in the community, and I don't know if we're doing this a lot really, but this is something to look at. But you know, maybe if I want to say to RJ, hey RJ, do you mind if like whenever I do my weekly show, do you mind if I tag you in it so it shows up on your timeline? Are you okay with that? And RJ, yeah, sure, why not? Or well, you know, no, not really. That's okay. You know, if you get permission, that's cool. I'm all about the positive stuff. So, and I have my timeline settings set so that if you tag me in it, I got to approve it first anyway. But not everybody has things set up like that. So, you know, there's a lot to be said for asking for asking for permission is important, you know, and really another way to avoid all of that is use a bot and get people to sign up for your bot. And then you know that when you're sending out a broadcast to say, hey, my show's coming up at blah, 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 you already got their permission. Right, RJ? Over to you.
Thank you. That was a sweet transition. Yes, well, and the point is this, and if you're interested in messenger bots, come join me at 1:00 Central. Come join me. We'll talk about it. But the point really is make it absolutely dead easy for people to find you. We all know that Facebook page reach went right into the toilets a few months ago. You know, Facebook changes their stuff all the time. We're really used to this. We adjust with it. But if you can make it super easy for people to join you, I use messenger bots because, well, it's how I make my living. And and because it allows me to send people just a little minute promo video that I make with Lumen 5. Great product. Free version is awesome. A little video that I make with Lumen 5. I give them a reason to be there. I let them know the time and the place, and then I give them a link. If you can give people those, a reminder, a reason to be there, and a link, you're making it dead easy for people to join you, because people sometimes get busy. They blow away what they had for, some emergency happened. We're all small business owners in my little crowd. Emergency happens, something happens and it blows away the rest of the day. People want to join you, but then they have to, get on and find you, or no. If you make it dead easy for people to join you, more people will join you. That's my experience with it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Make it as easy as possible for people. And like you said earlier, give people instructions of what to do. The last point I wanted to make with regards to creating a show and creating an event, what you do want to do is you do want to tag your guests. Your guests. Because I like what Erin said the other day, in order for your show to be successful, it's not just you that need to do the promotion. It's your guests that also need to participate. They must have skin in the game, as she said. Because it basically is not just for your benefit as a broadcaster, but it really is to also rally up the audience of your guests. Yeah. So be sure to tag your guests so that they know that this is what they need to share. And you're also making it easier for them, because you're not asking them to come up with stuff to share. You've already created what they need to share. You've tagged them. So be sure to do that. And I cannot believe we're at the top of the hour, guys. Can you believe it?
Well, I thought we were doing 2 hours.
Crazy.
We can overrun. I've forgotten to put something in the agenda, so I'm going to do it now.
So just a brief recap again. You want to do pre-show promotion. You want
Stephen,
to promote.
are you going to be okay? Sorry.
I don't know. I was about to launch into something. My apologies, Bridgetti. There is something that you can do at the end of the show, is that if you type, and we should have mentioned this earlier, my apologies for this, FDL, if you type FDL in the comments, not only will you find out more about Bridgetti and David and RJ, you'll also, if you go to my profile, you also get a free course, a Udemy course, all about BLIFbot.tv. All you need to do is to type FDL in the comments now, and it'll come racing over to you. This is an advertisement break, but the course is free. So I just wanted to get that in before the end of the show. And on behalf of everybody who's been watching today, to say thank you to the three of you, to RJ, to David, and to Bridgetti, for all the wonderful insights you've given us today on promoting a show. And people are typing FDL again, RJ.
Perfect.
We've got to say that in 2 shows that we've done, we've had over 40 people typing FDL, and then quite a few going through and taking the course as well. So if you'd each like to summarize your main points about promoting the show, and then I'm happy if we overrun it up to, well, who's got the next show? Who's live soon? Okay.
Not me today. Tomorrow, yes.
Right. Okay. So that's my part. But thank you to everybody who's watched, and I'll hand back to your co-host and go back down the lobby again. Bye for now.
Stephen pops back down to the lobby. All right, summaries, my friends. Who's got one?
I'll do it quick. Be prepared to put some effort in, first of all. But yeah, going back a couple of my points, go live on your personal timeline, on your personal, with your friends. Just go live natively. You can use BeLive too, that works too. But natively, you just click the button, away you go, and just talk about what's going on in your day, and just kind of drip on people going. And by the way, later on today, I'll be having my guests, or if you want to see what I did last weekend, just refer to things briefly, but don't be too salesy, right? Because people are waiting for that. Having your guests share your show and tagging your guests in the show is definitely important. And then there's a lot that we talked about, but then the other thing I just want to throw, and use other platforms to promote your show, by the way, too. And timestamps. The timestamps after the show really makes a difference in people engaging and clicking on. You want to get people to click on things, right? And it gives you an opportunity to re-tag your guests again. So, and I'll just say too that I welcome anybody to reach out to me on Facebook on my personal timeline. Send me a friend request. I love making more friends. I will talk to you. I am real. Ow. And I'm always happy to network. And maybe you could be on my show if you're a good fit. We could talk about that too. So thanks to Stephen and Bridgetti and RJ for having me here today as well. So Bridgetti, over to you.
I'd like to share one more nugget with all of you, and that is, do not neglect to check your analytics. Go back after your show. Go and have a look at the analytics. Facebook provides us with really good analytics because it gives you a view on what worked, what didn't work, and what you can do better next time. So that's my wrap up for today. And thank you, David. Thank you, RJ. RJ, where can people get hold of you?
Well, my friends, type in FDL and you'll get the full. But Black Belt Bots, we're always talking about bots. If you want to join me a little later at 1 Central, we'll be talking about bots again. But if I were to wrap up this entire show and thank my beautiful, lovely, and truly talented co-hosts at the same time, I would say this. There are so many nuggets that were dropped during this show. And if you're new out there and if you're thinking about doing a broadcast, or if you've maybe started your first few, this may seem a little overwhelming. I'm going to tell you this. You got this. If I can do it, you can do it. Pick 2 or 3 things that you've heard that you resonated with and start doing those things. Just make an experiment. You can make an experiment. If it works, great. If it sucks, throw it out. And then add a couple more things that you heard on this show and experiment with that. We all added this overwhelming amount of prep before, show promo prep before, during, and after the show. We all added those things one at a time, and you can do it too. Thank you for joining us today. What a wonderful show. Stephen Healy, it's time for you to pop back up.
Bye, everyone.
Right. From USA, from Canada, and from South Africa, and from England too. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Okay, you're starting singing now, David.
Well, I just think we're missing. I want to do the exit music.
All right, just wait. Jason says he's new. Wow.
Have fun, everybody. If you're not having fun, go home.
Take care. We'll see you all again soon.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.